So I spent a few months with the Asus Republic of Gamers Strix Scar 17. Now this is a laptop with an RTX 4090 and the Ryzen 9 7945HX CPU and 32 gigs of RAM. Now both of those RAM sticks are upgradable inside of the laptop, and you have an upgradable M.2 drive, occupied and unoccupied. So you have two slots that you can add storage to this device. Now there's some things that I definitely love about this laptop, the performance being one of them for sure, but there's some things that I don't like too much, and we're going to discuss both of those elements. And I want to help you make a purchasing decision. So by the end of this video, hopefully we can do that for you. Now, first and foremost, one thing I don't love about this laptop is because of the materials, it has a lot of give on the chassis. It's a large chassis. They've chosen to use some more budget-friendly materials, and so there's a lot of give on the plastic materials on this laptop. For instance, one thing I did notice is if you push between the trackpad and the keyboard, you can actually make the trackpad click. So you can see I'm pushing on the middle, and the trackpad is clicking. So that's one thing I'm like, I don't necessarily love that about this laptop. And the next thing, because this laptop is so big, we've got a ton of screen flex. And so for those of you who don't love screen flex, that it will be a concern for you. I personally don't have a big problem with screen flex, nor do I have a huge problem with screen wobble, but I know a lot of y'all have voiced concerns about screen flex and screen wobble, so I wanted to point that out to you. But overall, this is a great screen. It has really nice color accuracy, it has a great delta E, and it is bright. So for the $3,500 that you're gonna spend, roughly, give or take, if you wanna know the live pricing, head down in the description below, click those links. Of course, if you do make a purchase, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. All disclaimers advised. This laptop is a great bang for buck. However, they do lean into the performance more than they lean into all the build quality and idiosyncrasies in regards to that. So this is definitely a performance-focused laptop. Anyone can find anything on the internet, including your full legal name, your personal email, your home address, phone number, and even your relatives. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. We've been using Aura to monitor our personal information online for over a year now and have been able to reclaim control of our personal data. This information is accessible because of data brokers who profit by selling your information to robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, and anyone else that wants to learn more about you. You can use my link by going to aura.com/BenjiKaiser to try a 2-week free trial to see how many data brokers are sharing your information. Aura's app also features a VPN, password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitor, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. Aura has almost every internet safety tool you'll ever need, all inside one app. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link in the video description. Now, taking a look at the keyboard deck, they do have a very nice keyboard deck layout here. Medium key press, full-size shift key, got a numpad on the right side, but the trackpad to me is rather small for the size of the laptop. I mean, look at how big this is and look how much space is around this trackpad. As a creator doing video editing in Premiere Pro, using Photoshop to edit thumbnails, I like to do that on the go, and having a larger trackpad is definitely helpful. I don't always want to bring along a mouse with me. It just doesn't make sense. It's slightly impractical. So I would appreciate a larger trackpad, which this laptop did not come with. However, can't have everything. Now, another thing that surprised me that was actually fairly good was the weight of this laptop. I mean, this is a large laptop and the weight and thickness is not as bad as I would expect. Now, there's some really big laptops out there like the MSI Titan GT77. That thing is a tank and a half. This is fairly portable for the size and the fact that you get an RTX 4090 inside of this laptop. You're gonna be blown away at the performance. So I love the weight and thickness of this laptop. Now, one thing that really disappointed me, especially that it has a 90 watt-hour battery, is the battery life. I mean, this is just such a big screen with such high performing components that the max battery life I was able to get for productivity was 5 hours and 30 minutes. For streaming video playback, just over 4 hours. For Photoshop, just over 2 hours, and for video editing, barely caught under the 2-hour mark. I mean, I was really pushing it. There was like 20% brightness, battery saver mode, the Asus Armory Crate set to eco mode on silent. I mean, this thing was pulled down to the lowest performance settings possible, and that's still the battery life that we were able to achieve. So battery life is not this puppy's forte, to say the least. Oh, and of course, the RGB on the keyboard and on the front panel here was turned off for the battery life test, which, I mean, this is really neat. I like the RGB, it's really cool, but it does suck your battery quite a lot if you're not plugged into the charger. I definitely recommend turning it off. Now, this laptop is a beast in regards to performance. Looking at one of the craziest benchmarks was Cinebench R23 multi-core performance, scored a 33,000, and the closest laptop was a Legion Pro 7i at 27,000. Now, single core performance was not as impressive of a difference in regards to the performance. We saw pretty nominal performance differences between some of the top performers and this one. In fact, it kind of fell down the list a little bit, and the Pro 7i did have better single core performance with the i9-13900HX versus the Ryzen 9 7945HX. We saw over 100-point difference between those two. But life is not made up of simulated benchmarks, as I like to say, so let's jump into the real-world benchmarks and look at Photoshop. You can see in the Strix Scar 17, we score 1,358 versus a 1,229. So we see about 100-point difference between the two there, which is definitely a substantial difference in those. Now, looking at the Strix Scar 17 for After Effects, this is where we see an even bigger difference. A 995 out of the Legion Pro 7i versus a 1,146 in After Effects difference between those two. And for After Effects, you're definitely going to see a benefit with the RTX 4090 and the better multi-core processing. So that's definitely where we're seeing that bump in performance. Now, looking at Blender Classroom, this was another one that really impressed me. We saw a difference with the Asus Republic of Gamers Zephyrus G14 with an RTX 4090 scoring a 1,621. And then the Strix Scar 17 with the more powerful CPU gave us a bump by over 400 points at a 2,000. So Blender Classroom is definitely not only using that RTX 4090, but that Ryzen processor for a big advantage. The HS processor in the G14, which is more of a lower TDP processor, versus the HX, which is that higher SKU from AMD Ryzen. Now, Autodesk 3ds Max, Autodesk Maya, PTC Creo, and SolidWorks all saw really big benefits by going with the Strix Scar. Now, one area that I'm starting to see laptops really stand out and show some amazing performance now and into the future is 8K video editing. 4K, 6K, not a problem for this laptop. It barely even notices it. But 8K is one of those things that's really pushing laptops, and the Strix Scar is going to be one of the best if you're trying to edit 8K footage. The drop frames were insanely impressive for this laptop. For 8K B-RAW, we only saw 2,927 drop frames out of the 16,177 in the project. And for 8K red footage, we only saw 1,441 drop frames out of the 16,177. So this laptop is definitely one to consider for 8K video editing. Now, as far as this laptop is concerned, it has the performance that you need. It's functional. It has a great keyboard deck. It has a usable trackpad, and it has a bright, color-accurate screen, which for me, for a gaming laptop, was not always the case in years past. So it's really cool to see laptop brands stepping it up. However, I would say that the battery life is subpar, and the build quality is decent for the price. They went ahead and focused on performance over ultimately the best build materials. But if this had the build materials of, say, the Asus ZenBook Pro 16X, this would easily be a $5,000 to $6,000 laptop. So I can't slight them for trying to give us great performance in a semi-budget conscious package. So definitely get what you pay for, really aiming for performance, but allowing you to save a little money by giving you some plastic materials. Links in the description if you're ready to make a purchase. And of course, click or tap the screen here for more videos to help you with your purchasing decision. I'll see you in the next one.